G'day everybody, Sean from Bourbon Brothers here, I hope you're well. We're doing our second tasting video, but our third bourbon in our June tasting boxes. We're looking at the Penelope Single Barrel, Barrel Strength, Toasted Finish from Barrel and Batch. So this bottle, it's a single barrel toasted finish. It's aged for 3.5 years, comes in at 55.5%. It's sourced out of the MGP distillery in Lawrenceburg, Indiana via Penelope Bourbon. It's a 4-grain bourbon, so it has 75% corn, 15% wheat, 7% rye, 3% malted barley. It is batch number 16 from Penelope. This particular batch, it has a light to medium char, but with a heavy toast. So Penelope Bourbon is known for their sourcing and blending of MGP bourbon. Their Barrel Strength Toasted Bourbon expands on the company's Barrel Strength Bourbon series by adding a new freshly toasted barrel as the finishing step. Each batch is unique in the sense that the char and toast level can vary between batches, which is conveyed on the back of every bottle. Penelope Bourbon Toasted series explores a new and unique expression of their signature 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey. After full maturation in charred new American oak barrels, they finish the juice in new freshly toasted barrels. Each batch is a unique blend of their signature 3 bourbon mash bills, and all have different custom chars and toasts, making each bottle unique and different. The barrels selected for this series are the best in their inventory, and they go through an extensive hand selection process. So Penelope's Mike Palladini and Danny Palese are lifelong best mates who grew up together in New Jersey with a shared love of sipping good bourbon. In 2018, they took their passion up a notch when Penelope Bourbon was born. The two had great expectations on what bourbon should taste like, so after they rented a warehouse space in Louisville, Kentucky, they began the process of finding the right mix for their 4-grain bourbon. The friends went from sipping bourbon to selling it in a matter of months. Leaving their old careers behind, the two dove headfirst into the bourbon industry in June 2018. Palladini's been quoted as saying, "It all happened so quickly. It was like a light bulb went off where Danny and I have always been amateur bourbon enthusiasts, and I saw there was an interesting opportunity combining Penelope with bourbon and taking a different approach on marketing. Once that light bulb went off, it's basically been full steam ahead for them." Neither of the friends had any experience in distilling or in the alcohol business, but what they did have was a background in entrepreneurship, a passion for the product, and a good idea. They were on a plane to Kentucky not long after the idea was born. It took them a while to find the right mix. That mix became wheat and rye grains aged separately in charred American oak barrels, along with corn and barley grains, which created the great balance that is now Penelope Bourbon. When Palladini found out that he and his wife are having a baby girl, who they planned to name Penelope, the name was an obvious choice. It would combine the two things that Palladini loved dearly: his soon-to-be baby girl Penelope and straight American bourbon. As a very new producer, they're not really bound by any preconceived expectations of how their whiskey should be made or what it should taste like. So they made a whiskey that tastes great to them and they're proud to share with their friends. As big fans of both Weller and Pappy, who isn't, they favour a 4-grain mash bill with a similarly high wheat content. For this release, they've finished their wheat-heavy bourbon in a second cask that has a light medium char and a heavy toast, similar to the finishing cask used for Woodford Reserve Double Oak. This toasted barrel finished bourbon is a real welcome delight. It's almost a dessert whiskey. Craft bourbon done right. The wheated mash bill on this Penelope has a delightful mouthfeel, softer and sweeter than your classic corn, malt, rye bourbons. The best way to describe this drop is warm liquid butter. So that's the Penelope Bourbon. Let's give it a shot, and just so you know, these tasting notes are courtesy of our great mates at Barrel and Batch. Nice medium copper on the colour there. So that nose, you really get those classic deep caramel and cinnamon spices, and then some dark fruit coming through. That palate, there's a thick dark cocoa, like a cherry ripe, with dark chocolate taking control of dark fruits. There's oak tannins that follow and round out into classic caramel and vanilla. The finish, you get just a little hint of honey and butterscotch over the serving of stewed pears. So that's the Penelope Toasted Finish Barrel Strength Single Barrel from Barrel and Batch, a wheated bourbon with a toasted barrel finish. I'm sold. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're enjoying your journey. Cheers. G'day everybody, Sean from Bourbon Brothers.
Good stuff.
G'day everybody, Sean from Bourbon Brothers here. I hope you're well. Looking at our second video, but our third bourbon in our June tasting box. We're looking at the Penelope Single Barrel Toasted Finish Cask Strength Bourbon from Barrel & Batch. Oh, you...
Oh, so close.
Woo-wee. G'day everybody, Sean from Bourbon Brothers here with our second tasting video, but our third bourbon for our June tasting box. We're looking at the Penelope Single Barrel Strength. Let's go to cask.
Can you do that for me again? Don't drop the hand while you're still talking.
But they can't see.
I know.
So this barrel... Right over Muttley.
Good jokes.